Haunted ship in Alaska. 7 sinister rules revealed to guard against terrifying secrets. The winds howled outside like tortured souls as Sarah wiped down the counter at the diner, each squeak of the cloth matching the eerie sounds dancing through windy creeks. Rumors of the midnight ghost, a haunted ship lost in the cold embrace of the Alaskan sea, wrapped around the town like a shroud. It was a chilling legend that made the blood run cold. Sailors cursed, their whispers forever trapped in the waves. "Every night, they say you can hear them," Sarah murmured to herself, trying to drown out the voices carried on the wind, hoping to shield her children from the torment she felt and that they so easily sought. The diner was filled with locals swapping ghost stories, their laughter tainted by nervous glances towards the crashing surf beyond. They should be cautious, she thought, but with wide eyes and hearts full of bravado, Jake and Emma were bewitched by the tales, pulling Sarah ever closer to the edge of despair. "Stay away from the sea, and especially from that ship," she had warned Jake, her heart pounding at the thought of losing him to the supernatural lure. But he shrugged off her words, eyes gleaming with intention to explore the mysteries that he believed were hidden just beneath the surface. One fateful night, after another grueling shift, a terrible panic gripped Sarah as Jake didn't come home. The house felt soulless, cold, a pit of dread settling in her stomach like a stone. Outside her window, shadows flickered like memories of her late husband. She felt watched, the very air taut with unease. When she ran to the town's sheriff, desperate, they only chuckled dismissively, tossing out comments about kids and their imaginations. "They'll come back when they're tired, Sarah. No need to panic." Their chuckles echoed in her mind, mingling with the ghostly whispers lapping against the shore. She sensed the old, sinister rules they tucked behind closed doors, the dark folklore they chose to forget, the warnings that came with talking of the midnight ghost. "Please, he's dangerous out there," she pleaded, even as they shrugged her off, leaving her chasing shadows in an increasing fog. Each moment, each shifting noise, escalated her terror as she learned of townsfolk's dark secrets that had settled into the very bones of Windy Creeks. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Just then, a thud echoed from beyond her door, making her heart seize. Cold sweat prickled at her neck as she stepped into the hall, trembling hands pressed against the wall for support. The whispers were louder now, reaching for her, clawing at her sanity. She rushed outside, breathless, her horror manifesting with each footfall. The wind seemed to swirl around her, beckoning her towards the shore, as shadows flickered just out of sight. In the distance, rolled waves flared and flashed like ghosts in the moonlight, dangerous and alive. Suddenly, she stopped. A voice, familiar, a child's voice, calling for her from the depths of the sea. "Mom, help!" But it wasn't Jake's voice. It sent shivers down her spine, an oppressive realization that the night wasn't done with her yet. Panic surged through Sarah like ice water, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was caught in the midst of an unspeakable fate destined to engulf her family. As she turned towards the water, it swelled and hissed, shaping an ominous wave, swallowing her fear and pulling at her very essence. From the darkness, the glint of something caught her eye, something drifting, calling. Her child. The door creaked shut behind her, the house a distant echo. She stood trembling, the secrets of the midnight ghost heavy in the air, feeling it rise, whispering of her son's fate. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she stood rooted to the spot, fixated on the shadowy figure bobbing in the waves. The moonlight cast an eerie glow, revealing the dull glint of a silver locket, and her stomach churned with dread. She strained her ears, focusing on the haunting cry that brought new horror. "Mom!" It morphed, almost unrecognizable, as it echoed from the water. Each second felt like an eternity. The waves roared as if mocking her, gurgling the secrets of the sea, their message twisted with laughter. It sent cold shivers racing down her spine. "Jake!" she screamed, frantically, not wanting to accept the possibility that the voice was not his. But was that hope or denial gripping her heart? She plunged toward the shore, every instinct screaming in warning. The air was thick, charged with the weight of the unknown, and the whispers intensified, surrounding her. Was that laughter she heard, or was it more cries from beyond the grave? The tide clawed at her feet, icy fingers pulling her further into the dark embrace of the sea. Panic fueled her movements. She fought against the current, desperate to reach the child in the water. "Hold on, I'm coming!" The wind howled in response, a fierce, anguished wail that echoed her growing despair. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows by the rocks. It was Emma. "Mom, stop!" she shrieked, leaping forward and grabbing Sarah's arm. The intensity of her grip rooted Sarah in place, pulling her back from the precipice of the waves. "What are you doing here?" Sarah gasped, her words nearly lost to the wind. The urgency in her daughter's eyes pierced through the storm. "Jake is—" Emma hesitated, visibly trembling. "He's somewhere he shouldn't be. We have to listen." "What do you mean?" Sarah's voice cracked, panic slicing through her. She turned back to the water, searching but finding only a deep, unfeeling darkness. "I heard him call for me." "It's not him, Mom," Emma cried, squeezing Sarah's hands tightly. "It's a trick. It wants to bring you in." The realization sent a chill deep into Sarah's bones. The winds, the waves, the pull, it all felt designed to ensnare her spirit and drag her down. But if not Jake, then who? Suddenly, an image flashed in her mind. The tales of the midnight ghost, lurking beneath the waves, leading sailors to their doom. Lost souls demanding more victims. The world around her felt twisted and terrifying, as if the very sea before her was a living entity, hungry for sacrifices. She turned to Emma, searching her daughter's eyes for answers. "What do we do?" "Follow the rules," Emma said, her breath shaky. "The ones the town never tells. The ones about the ship and—" Before she could finish, an echoing roar reverberated from the depths, and the water began to churn violently. A dark shape broke the surface, gliding closer, glistening ominously under the moonlight. It was a ship, the midnight ghost itself, emerging from the murky abyss like a nightmare made real. Sarah's throat tightened as she took a step back, while Emma whispered, full of fear, "We have to run." But something in her twisted inside. Half of her wanted to flee, to save herself and Emma, while the other half was irresistibly drawn towards the ship. The choice loomed before her, an agonizing decision entangled in maternal love and the sinister power of the ghost ship. "Mom, please," Emma yelled, shaking her hard, tearing her thoughts from the abyss. The ship loomed closer now, shadows spiraling off it, whispering secrets that tugged at Sarah's mind like a thread. And then the voice returned, clearer and more chilling than before. "Sarah, come to me." As the figure on the ship pointed toward her, Sarah's heart raced, caught between saving her child and answering the call that could lead to salvation or destruction. "No, we need to get away," Emma pleaded, her small hands gripping Sarah's arm tightly. But it was too late. The pull grew stronger, the night darker, and the sea whispered promises of answers buried in its depths. And there, between terror and the unknown, Sarah took a step forward, crossing a line she couldn't uncross, as the haunting beckoned her closer,
What would she sacrifice to save her family? And what truths awaited her beneath the surface? The moment Sarah stepped forward, the atmosphere shifted. A cold wave crashed above her ankles, sending a shock through her body. It didn't just chill her skin, it deepened the dread in her chest. The figure atop the ship pointed again, this time with urgency, as if aware of the choice she was about to make. "Mom!"
Emma cried, horrified. "Please!" But Sarah felt an inexplicable connection to the ship. Each roll of the waves whispered secrets she couldn't decipher, yet yearned to understand. "I have to know," she muttered, though it was barely audible above the howling wind. Before she could think further, the ship's hull glimmered ominously, casting ghostly reflections on the water's surface. Shadows twisted, forming ghastly shapes that flickered like memories long buried. "Join us," the voice echoed again, more sinister than ever, drawing her closer to the shore's edge. "No!" Emma sobbed, dragging at her mother with all her might. "It's a trap!" There was a weight in Sarah's chest now, almost tangible, as if the ship was pulling her, stringing her along like a puppet. She looked back at Emma, whose face was pale and frantic. Desperation ignited something in Sarah. "Emma, Just then, a freezing gust shot through the night, almost as if the sea itself breathed a warning. It cut between them like a blade, and she struggled to keep her voice steady. "What do I do?" "Listen to the stories," Emma shouted, her voice breaking. "The townsfolk warn about the rules. They protect us from its power. If you don't follow them, we'll lose everything." The ship's figure stared down at her with hollow eyes, waiting, smiling. It was an invitation. Sarah felt the clash between understanding and desperation. What rules? Emma swallowed hard, her own fears spilling forth. The ship demands a sacrifice. It feeds on those who refuse to listen to the wishes of the sea. Glossy waves sloshed at Sarah's feet, cold and unyielding. The ship creaked. Shadows danced eagerly along the rear, beckoning for her attention. The nightmares whispered louder, mingling with echoes of Jake's voice. "Mom, come, save me." Emma's hands gripped Sarah's arms tight, shaking her, pulling her back. "Mom, trust me." Somewhere deep in the shifting tides lay the truth, and it emerged like a tide crashing against the rocks. "If we know the rules, we can turn this around," Emma pleaded desperately. "We have to fight it. You have to fight it." "Fight what?" Sarah's breath hitched. The desires of the ship felt overwhelming, its voice enticing, seeping into her consciousness. She wavered, caught in the battle of making a choice that could change everything. The ship creaked again, louder this time, as if warning them of an impending storm. "Sarah, take my hand." The voice bore an urgency now, almost sweet, seductive. The locket glinted again, and Sarah felt dizzy. "Mom!" Emma screamed, her voice slicing through the haze, piercing through the growing darkness surrounding them. "Remember the stories. You can't just listen to it. That's how it wins." Suddenly, a thunderous crash erupted behind them, shattering Sarah's stupor. Sarah spun around, her heart racing, revealing a swirling maelstrom, a vortex forming in the sea. The winds howled like tortured souls, the atmosphere charged with terror. "I can't lose you," Emma cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're my only hope." The sea roiled, fierce and unforgiving, pushing her to make a choice in that heartbeat. "Sarah!" The ship's figure reached out again, beckoning. At that moment, she saw her life flash before her. Torn between the luminous light of hope for Emma and the darkness calling from the ship, Sarah stood paralyzed. Make a choice! What side would she choose, and what punishment awaited her if she chose wrong? The air crackled with anticipation. The midnight ghost loomed ever closer, its secrets promising revelation or utter darkness.
And then, with the last threads of control slipping from her grasp, she made a decision that could shatter everything. What would be the price she had to pay? The decision tumbled from Sarah like a stone into the bottomless depths. In her mind, shadows flickered, swarming like disturbed insects. She thrust her hand forward, but instead of grasping the figure's outstretched hand, she lunged away from the ship, heart hammering against her ribs. "Mom!" Emma gasped, barely able to keep up. That haunting call echoed around them. Tendrils of frosty wind coiled around Sarah, pulling her toward the malevolent influence of the ship, but she fought against them, digging her heels into the damp earth. "We have to go, now!" The ship shrieked, a sound raw with despair, as if it were losing its hold. Sarah spun, taking Emma's hand, desperation igniting a fire within her chest. Behind them, shadows exploded as the maelstrom intensified, wind screaming like banshees. The figure on the ship, its eyes now ablaze, twisted into something malevolent, grinning at their defiance. "You cannot escape!" "Mom, run!" Emma screamed, clutching her mother's arm, dragging her back away from the terrifying cliff of the shoreline. But as they scrambled away, the ground shook beneath them, an earthquake of waves punctuating the air with crunching sounds, like bones cracking. In the heart of the storm, the waters churned into a grotesque shape, an image of grasping hands and agonized faces. Sarah froze again, the memories of the ship clawing at her sanity. Faint whispers filled the gaps, seductive and dreadful, each voice tugging at her thoughts. "Join us. Become one with the sea." "Stop it!" she shouted, shaking her head violently. "Just stop!" But it only got louder, the reality of their haunting call enveloping her like thick fog. With a jolt, Emma pulled her away from the edge, wrenching her focus back to the shore, away from the horror. "We are not going to give in!" A challenge lit within Sarah. The urge to succumb ebbed as she fumbled for Emma's locket, needing that connection. She felt the warmth radiating from it, tinged with the memory of her son's laughter. "We'll find Jake. We can bring him back." But the winds howled around them, relentless. The vortex surged with glee, spiraling from the depths, its hunger palpable. "Too late," the figure shouted. "Your souls are bound to the ship. One must be given to satisfy the storm." As panic
engulfed Sarah, the earth stilled for one haunting moment. It felt as if every living thing held its breath, waiting for a judgment call. Then the ship lurched sideways, sections beginning to crack and splinter, revealing rotting wood and glistening barnacles, unmasking grotesque faces twisted in torment. Blood vessels pulsed through the wreckage. "No," Sarah breathed, horror creeping beneath her skin. "No, it isn't real." "Mom," Emma choked, "we have to make a choice. Trust me." "Trust?" The word echoed like a fragile whisper, exposed to the storm's fury. What if she chose wrong? The shadows behind her writhed like angry serpents, each one vying for a piece of her. "Mom, please." Emma's plea surged through the chaos, grounding her even as the storm threatened to rip them apart. In that raw moment, a flash of memory ignited, of stories told below the warm glow of their living room, of the ship's rules. But understanding came at a price. "What is the sacrifice?" she murmured, her voice shaking. "Only then will the tide relent," the figure on the ship howled, as lightning split the sky, illuminating the truth. The clouds thickened, turfing a sudden torrent of rain that nailed them to the ground. "We can't let it have you, Mom," Emma insisted fiercely, determination eclipsing fear. Determined, Sarah steeled herself. "What if I do something it cannot predict?" "Like what?" Emma's eyes were wide. The cold hands of fear tightened around Sarah's throat, but she fought the urge to listen to the whispers. She needed a plan, something reckless, something sacrificial.
The figure loomed closer, teeth glinting in malice. What will you offer? As the storm became deafening, Sarah's heart raced. She had to act. She could no longer allow the ship's malevolence to dictate their fate. "Take me," she screamed, voice drowning in the chaos, knowing she might lose everything to save Emma. But would it be enough? In that heartbeat, the darkness surged toward her, as if tasting her bravery. But at what cost? And deep beneath the surface, in the churning waters, another secret waited, one that could change everything. The wind howled, and the rain pelted down like tiny daggers. Sarah felt the bite of cold seep into her bones, yet she stood firm, heart pounding, breath hitching in her throat. The storm seemed to respond to her defiance, growing even more frenzy, like a beast enraged. Emma's grip on her hand tightened, grounding her in this moment of madness. "Mom!" Emma yelled, her voice barely piercing through the tempest. "What's happening? What did you just do?" I don't know," Sarah cried, her mind racing. The ship creaked ominously, as if it thirsted for the very lifeblood of her sacrifice. The figure on deck, once merely a specter, now pulsated with dread energy, its smile widening like a crack dividing reality. I just thought what?" Emma's voice trembled, catching the harshness of the wind. "Maybe if I offered myself." Sarah's voice faltered, overwhelmed by the enormity
of her words. A pang of guilt clawed at her chest. Could she truly abandon her child? Her courage wavered as flesh-dead faces twisted on the ship, their mouths snaking open in a cacophony of screams. Emma's trembling hands brought her back to herself. "No, you can't let it have you!" Emma half shouted, half cried. Frantic, she stepped closer, her own small form a pillar of determination against the gale. "There has to be another way!" The figure laughed, a low, menacing sound that echoed across the water, mingling with the thunder. "Your attempts are futile. Sacrifice is the only way. A life for a life." Pain sliced through Sarah's heart. The words hung in the air like lead weights. She was haunted by visions of Jake, lost in shadows and twisted in horror for too long. But surely she wouldn't do the same to Emma. "Mom, look!" Emma screamed again, pointing toward the ship. From the depths of the sea, something began to rise. A figure, draped in tattered rags, emerged from the swirling whirlpool, glistening and grotesque. The shape morphed into the likeness of Jake, eyes burning with sorrow and rage. "Help me, Mom! Don't give in!" he cried, voice echoing through the storm like thunder. The cries reverberated in Sarah's skull, blurring the line between obsession and reality. She staggered back, her hand instinctively clutching the locket around her neck, feeling the warmth of Emma's touch for reassurance. "It can't be real," she whispered, fighting the darkness that seeped into her mind. "Don't look!" Emma shouted. "It's trying to confuse you." But the deception was shattering. Jake's face twisted into a cry so familiar, so loved. It tore at Sarah's heartstrings like a banshee's wail. "Help me!" it called again, drawing her closer to the edge of sanity. "You can save me!" "No!" Emma's small body surged forward, blocking her mother's view. "Don't believe it! It's just a trick!" The ship rumbled beneath their feet, tossing them forward. Sarah's breath quickened, senses heightened to an unbearable level of fear. She could feel them, the spirits, 1,000 years of sorrow mingling beneath the waves, reaching with clawing fingers of despair, begging not for aid, but for companionship in their eternal torment. "Emma, we have to go, now!" Sarah cried, pulling her daughter back with all her strength. But the storms seemed to lash out in rejection, hurling waves of darkness toward them. "Leave us in peace!" Emma screamed at the figure standing proudly on the ship. The creature only laughed,
an awful sound that made Sarah's stomach twist itself in knots. "Too late for peace. You must choose," it shrieked, the storm swirling with wicked glee, waiting for their answer, for their inevitable choice to quench its insatiable hunger. The ground shook again. The crashing of waves echoed like the unforgiving march of time. With every pulse of debris-filled air, Sarah could feel her life, her child's life, hanging off a fragile thread. "Mom, I believe in you," Emma uttered.
"Just trust yourself!" But trust waned as the tantalizing offer floated around them like a phantom. Surrender to the abyss or fight for freedom. With a surge of defiance, Sarah met the malevolent figure's gaze. "What if we offer something else?" Hope flickered as the storm calmed enough for a moment. The figure's eyes glinted with newfound curiosity. "What do you propose?" Before she could answer, the ocean's depths roared back to life, ready to shield the secrets it kept at a price. And deep down, as shadows danced beneath the surface, a deeper truth awaited, one capable of ensnaring both mother and daughter in its horrifying embrace. The figure on the ship leaned closer, its grin stretching unnaturally wide, teeth glistening like shards of glass. The moment hung there, thick and electric, as the allure of a bargain danced through the air. Sarah's heart raced, sweat beading on her brow, a clammy chill creeping down her spine. "What if we offer the truth?" she blurted out, her own words barely grasped in the chaos. The laughter stopped. The ship quivered, waves crashing less violently, as if waiting with bated breath. "Oh, how deliciously foolish!" it hissed, the voice smooth like velvet, yet tainted with malice. "What truth do you think matters here?" Emma clutched her mother tighter, eyes wide and shimmering, a mix of fear and confidence. "Mom, don't!" she urged, but her words fell to the ground, silent in the storm. Blood throbbed in Sarah's ears. She thought of Jake, of the lies that pulled them into this abyss, deeper than the dark waters that clamored beneath them. "You want a life for a life? Then take the truth of what happened," she shouted. "Take the lies I told myself." The figure's eyes narrowed, and shadows flickered around it, hinting at a form even more grotesque beneath the veil of its human shape. It seemed to recoil slightly, as if her words were more powerful than expected. "Do you think the truth has weight?" it mocked. "You cannot escape the choices you've made." A flurry of images darted through Sarah's mind, memories twisted with guilt. She had lied, to herself, to Jake. Shadows of regrets danced like phantoms in her thoughts, urging her deeper into the fracture of despair. "Sarah!" Emma's voice broke into her memories, shards of ice cutting through the fog. Her daughter's fear was palpable, grounding her. "Stay with me! Fight it!" The malevolence shifted, rippling like water disturbed. "Do you think the fallen will forgive you? That revealing your truth can save you? Their thirst for vengeance is insatiable." Each word was steeped in darkness, and the air grew heavy, laden with impending dread. "Mom, listen to me!" Emma cried, her voice struggling against the rising winds. "You can't bargain with it! It's lying!" The laughter returned, a cacophony intertwining with the howling winds. "I tire of your flimsy hopes. Your truth will only feed the tide's hunger." Sarah felt her resolve draining, but in her heart a flicker of something ignited. "No, you are a fraud. You have no power over us unless we let you." Her voice boomed over the storm, defiant. The figure faltered, the shadows creeping back, dark tendrils reaching for the brink of understanding.
"Do you want to know your true sacrifice?" it whispered, silk smooth, but rife with malice. "Then give me her truth, and let her suffer the consequence." An icy grip clenched around Sarah's throat as the winds howled louder, twisting with menace. Images of Emma in a world without her mother flashed before her. The desperation was sharp. The idea threatened to collapse her. "Mom, don't!" Emma yelled again, stepping forward, wanting to drag her away from that awful truth. But the figure's laughter, now a boisterous belch, lashed out against their bond, spreading layers of icy dread. In that moment, the sea began to boil. Bubbles of malevolence erupted from beneath, angry spirits clawing to the surface, their cries merging into an elongated wail of anguish. The shadows merged and birthed visions, memories Sarah thought she had buried. She squeezed her eyes shut, feeling the chaos escalate around them. "No!" she screamed, desperation lacing her voice. "You want our truth, but you will not have it." The storm shifted again, responding with rage, the water roiling violently. Sarah's pulse quickened. If she couldn't save them by revealing their truth, then she had to find another way. The ocean roared, spirits thrashing through the waves as if demanding a sacrifice. "What will you offer instead, your child?" the figure taunted, its smile widening, countless spirits rising, all eyes turned toward Emma, the sweetest bait. "No!" Sarah's heart shattered. She couldn't lose Emma to the shadows. Just then, an unexpected bolt of lightning struck the mast, lighting up the entire ship momentarily. In that flash, Sarah caught a glimpse of something lurking below the surface, something ancient and vast, monstrous and terrible. And with a chilling revelation, she understood that beneath the bargain of truth lay something darker, more sinister than they had ever imagined. "Mom, look!" Emma cried, her voice a mix of horror and clarity. "What's down there?" As the winds shrieked in reply, the ground beneath them twisted, urging them to choose, to uncover either the depths of their shared past or plunge into the unknown horrors the sea concealed. What awaited them below? Was it an escape or a descent into madness? Sarah took a trembling breath, and the tension peaked. The storm, the spirits, the truth, they all hung in the balance, a fragile tightrope over the abyss. The waves thrashed violently, each crash reverberating through Sarah's bones, pulling them deeper into the fury of the sea. The figure on the ship, with its glassy grin, remained a looming specter. It watched the chaos unfold with a perverse delight, as if relishing the terror it sowed. "Look beneath," it taunted, voice dripping with rancid sweetness. "What secrets do you think the depths
Hold! What horrors await the truth-seeker?" Before Sarah could respond, a gurgling roar erupted from below, drowning out the winds. As the thunder rolled, the ocean exposed its rage, revealing dark figures swirling just under the surface. Eyes, countless eyes, glimmered from the murky depths, caught in a frenzy of unearthly hunger. "Mom, we can't," Emma pleaded, fear coursing through her veins. "Whatever's down there, it's not meant for us." Sarah felt the rage of the spirits, a lashing tendril of water kissing her skin like ice. Her heart raced. Was there still a way out, a path forward that wouldn't swallow them whole? "Give us your truth," the figure hissed, its shadow creeping closer. "Or choose the child over yourself." The choice felt like a noose tightening around her throat. Yanking on her remaining courage, Sarah thought of Jake, the way her lies had darkened their lives. But now Emma was in danger. "No!" Sarah shouted, voice cutting through the storm's roar.
You can have no part of us." Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. The deck tilted, sending Emma slipping, almost tumbling overboard. "Mom!" she screamed, gripping the edge with all her might. The spirit surged like a tidal wave, almost pulling her into the abyss. "Emma!" Panic sickened Sarah's stomach. She lunged, grabbing her daughter's wrist just in time. It was a frantic tug-of-war against the pull of the dark water, so angry, so alive. "Hold on," Sarah cried, gripping tighter as her own balance faltered. The figure on the ship roared with laughter, the sound echoing like a banshee's wail across the tempest. "You're too late," it shrieked. "Truth is a debt to the sea, and it demands payment." With a roar, the ocean answered, a monstrous swell erupting from the depths. A maw opened wide, ready to devour them both. The air thickened with unseen weight, heavy with despair. "Mom, everything," Emma cried, tears spilling over. "You have to fight for us." The weight of what Sarah had hidden, the burdens she had carried alongside hopes and dreams, pressed down on her. But beneath that weight she detected a flicker, a chance. "What if the truth isn't what you think?" she called out, voice trembling but defiant. "What if it's something different?" The figure on the ship stopped, confusion flickering across its eyes. "There's no truth but your terror," it spat, its form shifting as if to engulf them in shadows. "Maybe," Sarah shouted, heart pounding, "but it seems like you're scared of the truth, too." The spirit howled, its laughter turned to a scream. The wind screamed with it, the very air around them shrieked like nails on chalkboard. "Now, Emma!" Sarah yelled, as a storm wave crashed against the ship, tipping it dangerously. In one swift motion, she pulled her daughter closer and plunged into the grasp of the icy depths. The water engulfed them, the world above fading into murky darkness. The spirits grabbed at them, whispering promises and threats, slicing into Sarah's
mind like knives. "What lies ahead?" Emma shouted over the rush of water, clutching her mother tightly. Sarah fought against the current, examining the swarming forms of the lost souls, memories entwined like tendrils in the abyss, desperate to ensnare them. "I don't know," she gasped, searching for the glimmer of light, "but we have to find it." And as they sank deeper, a glowing silhouette flickered ahead, illuminating the ocean's depths. Something ancient and fierce awaited them, the embrace of truth wrapped in shadowy seduction. "Keep swimming," Sarah urged, the warmth of the glow stirring something deep within her, hope amidst despair. They had to reach it before the darkness swallowed them whole. But would the light reveal salvation or expose yet another horrifying truth? The shadows whispered and the waters churned, urging them deeper and deeper into a fate unknown. The pressure of the depths encased them, and Sarah fought against the icy grip with every ounce of strength left in her body. Each stroke felt heavier, laden with the weight of the unseen spirits that clung to them, their whispers like dry leaves skittering across a forgotten grave. "Mom, I can't!" Emma's voice broke through the chilling water, muffled but desperate. "Yes, you can. Just a little more." Sarah gritted her teeth, adrenaline coursing through her veins as they surged towards the glowing silhouette. The light pulsated, beckoning them forward, but the shadows tightened their hold, slick tendrils of despair wrapping around Sarah's legs, dragging her back into the darkness. "Stop fighting!" a voice rasped from the murk, echoing with the screech of the dead. "Embrace the truth." "No!" Sarah shouted, the word a fiery spark against the icy despair. "You will not take my daughter." With sheer will, she kicked against the cold. They were close to the light, close enough to feel its warmth radiating against their chilled skin.
But just as they drew near, the light flickered, revealing jagged shapes that formed beneath its surface. The specters of those who had come before, whispered secrets, twisted by betrayal and pain. Their faces were familiar to Sarah, a haunting gallery of memories she thought she had buried. Suddenly, the truth dawned on her. These were the faces of deceived loved ones, of those she had lost to silence. "Mom, it's scary," Emma cried, her voice trembling. "It's okay, just hold on to me." But Sarah felt her doubts creeping in like the dark, a chilling doubt that maybe this was a trap. What if the truth is worse than the lie? The glowing shape shifted again and began to pulse ominously, and the dark whispers grew louder, merging into a chaotic chant. The spirits were growing restless, their forms swirling around them like a whirlpool of sorrow, anger, and an insatiable hunger. "Deceit!" they screamed in unison. "Truth shall be revealed!" Suddenly, a brutal current surged, yanking them away from the light's warmth. Sarah fought to keep her grip on Emma, but the water twisted like a
wild animal, yanking them apart. "Mom!" Emma's cry echoed in the depths, a piercing note rising above the murmurs of the spirits. "Emma!" Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. She felt the waters pulling them in opposite directions, fear a raw, ugly pulse in her chest. The dark figures hissed, snatching at her, luring her towards the depths. "Let her go!" Sarah screamed, fury fueling her struggle. She swung her arms wildly, trying to create distance from the pull of the abyss. "I won't abandon her! We won't be your puppets!" The spirits paused, uncertainty washing over them like a wave. The slippery tendrils hesitated, giving Sarah just a moment to dive deeper, reaching for the flicker of light that fought to shine through the darkness. "Mom!" The scream pierced through her fear. With one desperate push, she dove downward, her heart pounding. She squinted through the murky water, willing herself not to look away. Emma was barely within reach. "Hold on, sweetheart!" Sarah shouted, kicking with everything she had. But the echoing chants wrapped around her, nearly choking her with their intensity. "You can't escape! You'll drown in your own lies!" With one last surge, Sarah grasped Emma's outstretched hand. In that moment, everything stopped. The shadows froze, and the water around them retreated. A flash of brightness blinded them both, and they were pulled into its warmth, breaking through the surface. But instead of safety, they gasped at the edge of a different horror, a sinister reflection of the world above. An eerie calm suffused the air, as Sarah realized they weren't out of danger yet. Stranded on a desolate shore, the ship loomed behind them, its malevolent grin now a reality. The lay of the land felt wrong, warped, a place that echoed neither the mundane nor the familiar. "What have we done?" Emma whispered, her eyes wide with lost innocence and terror. And then, above the oppressive silence, the figure from the ship re-emerged, its glassy grin wider than ever, eyes gleaming with malicious excitement. "You've paid the price, but the truth is still yours to uncover." As the shadows danced along the shoreline, Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift. What horror awaited them now? Would the unrelenting truth leave them shattered or bound? The ground trembled, an unsettling heartbeat beneath their feet. The air was thick with a smell that made Sarah's stomach churn, a mix of salt and decay, like lifeless fish left to rot under a relentless sun. With a trembling hand, she pulled Emma close. "Stay close to me," she whispered, though her voice pitched dangerously high, a thread barely holding. The figure from the ship stepped closer, its elongated limbs bending grotesquely as it moved. Each creak of its body echoed like thunder in the stillness. Sarah's mind raced, scrambling for a plan, but each thought twisted in her head like a knife. "Why here? Why us?" she trembled, her heart thundering. The spirit smiled wider, a stretch of empty blackness where a mouth should. "Everyone who sets foot here uncovers their truth," it answered, the rasp of its voice cutting through the silence. Buried regrets, shattered dreams, the past you fought to escape. No, Sarah shook her head, a bead of sweat trailing down her spine. I don't want to see. It is not a choice, it hissed, a chilling wave washing over the shore, making the shadows dance frenetically. This realm holds you captive until you face it. The horizon flickered, revealing fleeting images, her past flashing before her eyes with each pulse of light. Her father's funeral, Emma's birth, the moment she lost everything she loved. Each memory clawed at her, dragging her under, threatening to consume her. "Get away from her!" Emma screamed, pushing against Sarah's arm, her small body trembling. The figure let out a sound resembling laughter, a raspy croak that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. The girl knows. She will reveal the truth you hide, one way or another. "Shut up!" Sarah shouted, anger flooding her veins. "You don't own us!" With a sudden ferocity, she stepped forward, her defiance igniting another rumble beneath the shore. The water rippled, as if alive, swirling and churning. The ground around them transformed, cold sand giving way to sharp stones. Dark shapes began to emerge, creeping up from the depths where the sea met the cursed land. "Do not fight it!" the figure shrieked, its voice a horrific crescendo. "Your souls are chained. Unravel the truth or be lost to oblivion." As the shadows crept closer, Sarah could feel their icy tendrils searching, eager to wrap around her and Emma, dragging them down into the unknown. Panic clawed relentlessly as she turned to Emma, desperate to shield her from whatever awaited them. "Listen to me," she said, her voice urgent yet steady. "We need to find the light again. We have to remember who we are, what we mean to each other. Promise me, Emma, you won't let go." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I promise." But the ground quaked again, and a chorus of whispers erupted from the sea, their low murmurs bouncing off the stone-like waves. "Truth shall be revealed. Truth shall be revealed." Determined, Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself against the rising tide of despair. They needed courage. They needed to uncover the secrets binding them here. Gritting her teeth, she pressed onward, Emma at her side. But then a shadow lunged at Emma, jagged claws extended to grasp. Sarah screamed, reaching out just as the tendril made contact, but it stopped short, hesitating as if confronted by an invisible wall. "What is this?" the figure from the ship asked, confusion etched across its ghastly face. "Love," Sarah whispered hoarsely, realizing the truth in that simple word fueled their resolve. In that moment, the shadows writhed, reacting violently to their bond. "You cannot hide the truth forever," the figure screeched, its voice cracking, reverberating around them. The stakes had risen. As darkness clawed at the edges of their consciousness and the ship's malevolence loomed ever closer, Sarah knew she had to confront the truth, not just for herself, but for Emma. The shadows surged again, growing monstrous, determined to reveal the darkest secrets of her past. Sarah felt the abyss beckoning. Where would it lead them? What sacrifice awaited? And then the luminescence surfaced again, illuminating a path in the chaos ahead. Would this light reveal freedom or damnation? The warm glow flickered again in the chaos, pulsing like a heartbeat, guiding Sarah and Emma toward a fragile hope.
As the shadows swirled menacingly around them, Sarah's heart raced with every step she took, fueled by the urgency that their bond created against the onslaught of darkness. "Mom!" Emma gasped, pointing ahead. "Look!" In the distance, the light expanded, revealing fragments of their past like scenes from an old movie. As they got closer, Sarah recognized the moments. That day she had forgotten her father's birthday, the time she snapped at Jake during a tough day, and the anguished choice to push away the grief that threatened to consume her whole. Each memory bore hurt and regret, but with every step, the warmth began to weave a tapestry of resilience, a necklace of love strong enough to shield them from the encroaching shadows. "We have to face them," Sarah shouted to Emma, forcing herself onward. "We can't outrun the past. We have to embrace it." "But what if it pulls us under?" Emma's eyes were wide with fear, glistening like two bright stars in a dark sky. "I won't let it," Sarah declared, feeling the power of her love surge up to meet the encroaching darkness. "Together, we will confront every tear, every loss. They don't own us." As they moved toward the light, the howls of the specter brought a fresh wave of terror crashing down. "You think love can save you? You'll be engulfed in your lies." But Sarah pressed on. She could feel every memory, every emotion racing back at her, shredding through the veil she'd placed between herself and her past. The shadows shrieked, morphing into grotesque figures of loss, echoing regret in haunting whispers that clawed at her sanity. Sarah clenched her stomach, holding Emma's hand tighter. "We have to stay together, embrace them as our truth." Gathering every ounce of courage, she called out, "I am flawed, I made mistakes, but I am not just my failures. I am filled with love and memories worth fighting for." As her voice crescendoed, the light pulsed in response, blooming wildly like a flower breaking through winter soil. The shadows hissed against the illumination. Gradually, they retreated, hissing and spitting as Sarah's aura of love drew them back. "Stop resisting!" the figure bellowed, its grasping fingers swiping at the light, frantically trying to snuff out their hope. "No, you are nothing but a thief, a liar!" Sarah roared back, feeling strength coursing through her veins. The memories of every laugh shared with Jake, and every warm. Emma shielded her, flooding her heart with courage. With each word, the spirits recoiled, twisting against the light. "You can't let go of the weight!" "Oh, but I can!" Sarah shouted, voicing every heartache and remorse, every tiny spark that swelled into a flame. "I embrace my darkness, and in its shadows I find my strength." Their surroundings erupted in a blinding brightness, forcing shadows back into the depths. The figure on the ship bellowed in rage, but the tide had shifted. The empowerment in Sarah's voice created ripples that spread through the abyss, illuminating truth through vulnerability. "Mom, now!" Emma yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos, urging them both forward. They dove deeper into the light, forging through a wall of darkness that felt less like a threat and more like an echo of their former selves. And then they burst through. The world blinked as it collapsed around them, raining shards of darkness that exploded like fireworks. They found themselves on a beach, warm and inviting. The ship's haunting presence wavered in the distance, its shadow collapsing under the weight of their unified declaration. As Sarah gripped Emma tightly, she felt the stirrings of joy and relief ripple through her as waves lapped at their feet, gentle reminders of the love that had sparked their victory. "We did it! We faced it all!" Sarah exclaimed, chest heaving with exhilaration. But the ship was still there, a fading specter. "You think you've won?" it shrieked, slowly evaporating. "You'll always carry your truth." "Yes," Emma added, her eyes sparkling with fierce bravery, "and it's the truth that sets us free." In that moment, Sarah felt the last weight of the ship's shadows lift off her heart. We are not alone. We have each other. That's our truth. And in the fading glow of the midnight ghost, the mother and daughter turned together, leaving behind the ghosts in search of their next horizon, a fresh beginning built from love and the lessons learned from the past. As they walked away, Sarah whispered a promise to the sea. "We'll remember you, but you won't bind us again." Everything felt lighter, filled with the lessons of hope, strength, and love. The tide rolled softly behind them, sealing away the memories worth embracing, and leaving behind the ones that carried only pain. Sarah's heart swelled as she looked at Emma, both knowing their journey wasn't over, but filled with possibilities. The future was just within reach. Together, they would brave the storm of life, forging an unbreakable bond. As the sun set, casting golden hues on the horizon, they stepped forward, determined to uncover the wonders that awaited them and face every adventure unafraid. This journey wasn't just survival, it was a promise to love, to fight, and to never let shadows dictate their fate again. Now, if you've enjoyed this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button.
Now, to feed the algorithm and show your support, and please flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the word about facing our truths together.